Good morning students. I hope you all are fit and fine. As you all know students, I am Kashi Gandhi and I am taking your subject social and English. Right. So in our today's lecture we will start with our social subject. In that specifically students we will start with the chapter number 10, that is the following the Mahatma part 2. Right. It is already started in our previous lecture students, but in today's lecture we will complete the whole chapter, right? And before we start students, I welcome you all on behalf of Vidya Sankul. And students, it is humble request to pay your 100% attention to your online studies, because it is the part of your education also. And please students, subscribe our channel and give likes to our video. So students, before we start, I want to give the summary of this chapter, because in our previous chapter like 3 and 4, right, we have already done the following Mahatma part 1 in that lecture. So it is the part 2 of that things, means following the Mahatma part 2, it is already continuation with the part 1. So students, in our just a previous lecture we have completed the half part of this chapter. So in today's lecture we will complete the whole chapter. So before we start the chapter, I want to give the summary that already done in just previous lecture. Right. So in our previous lecture students, what we have done? We have seen that the civil disobedience movement, right, it is at the year 1930, right. So now what is the disobedience movement? A disobedience movement is against the unjust law that are formed by the British government, right. So in this movement, in this disobedience movement, what happens students? We against the unjust law of the British government, right. So just I repeat all these things. It was difficult to attain Swaraj without putting up a fight, means without a fight it is not possible to attain the Swaraj. So at the Ahmedabad session of the INC Congress, the executive committee decided to launch a movement. So at Ahmedabad, the session decided to attain the Swaraj to make the community attain Swaraj by breaking the unjust law. By only breaking the unjust law we are able to attain the Swaraj. Next, it authorized Gandhiji to launch the civil disobedience movement. And who is the leader of this movement? Gandhiji was the leader of this disobedience movement. So in accordance with the disobedience movement, we have also the Dandi March, that is already attained by the Gandhiji. Means who was the leader of the Dandi March? Gandhiji was the leader of the Dandi March. It is in the year 1930. So in Dandi, what happened students? That Gandhiji started the Dandi March from Sabarmati Ashram. From where Gandhiji started this Dandi March? From the Sabarmati Ashram with his 78 companions. Here what is the companion meaning? Companion means friends, means supporters. With 78 supporters, Gandhiji started this movement. On 12th March 1930, students, it is important, it was mandatory to remember all the dates of the movement. Next we have that meeting were held in every village that was on the route. Means it is started from Sabarmati to Dandi. So in between there were so many villages, right. So what they do? That villages that was on the route, means they were held the meetings every villages on the route. Next, break the salt law and the significance of Satyagraha in us attaining the Swaraj, means by breaking the salt law they are attaining the Swaraj. Gandhiji reached Dandi on 5th April, means they started at 12th April but they reached on the 5th April 1930, and on the 6th April the Gandhiji broke the salt law, and on the 6th April Gandhiji, means actual law was broken by the Gandhiji on which date? 6th April, but reached at the 5th April. I am shaking the end salt. Now next what happens students? That Gandhiji while picking up the fistful of salt, means like picking this fistful so on his hand, that time Gandhiji spoke that with his I am shaking the foundation of the British Empire, and that time Gandhiji said that he was shaking the whole British Empire by breaking the salt law. Okay, so next, farmer tribals and the women actively participate in this movement, and it is not like that only men were there. No, there were children, there were women, there were other tribals group also present at that time. Next, the government resorted to the policy of suppression. Thousands of satyagrahis were arrested. By this movement, what happened, students? Thousands of satyagrahis were arrested in this Dandi march, in this Dandi movement, right? So students, I hope you clear with that. Now next we have the round table conference. Now what is the round table conference? You all know, students, what is the round table? Round table means shaped like circle, right? So what happened in conference? Like all the peoples were gathered on the circle table, means the shape like round shape like table, and they all discussed about something, right? It is called the round table conference. Next we have that British government convenes round table conference in order to discuss the constitutional change. It was for the constitutional change, means for what reason they held this round conference, means the round table conference for the constitutional change. They held the round table conference, right? Next, the first conference was unsuccess as the INC decided to boycott, means they already arranged one meeting before the second meeting, right? So what happened in the first meeting? INC declined, means INC boycott all the changes of the constitution. So what happened? The first round table conference was unsuccessful. So now next, the second round table conference was held in 1931 in the London, when it was held on the London, right? On 1931 in the London, Gandhiji attended as the only representative of INC, and in the second meeting of the round conference table, Gandhiji was there in the second meeting in the London. Next, what happened in this conference? The demand for separate electorate for the Dalits and for different communities was met. So in the second meeting, means in the second round conference table, what happened? They decide, means they demand for the separate electorate. For what? For the Dalits and the other communities, means for the lower caste, they want the separate electorate, and for the rich public, they are separate the different electorate rate, right? Next, Gandhiji was disappointed with this, since it will segment India, and Gandhiji very disappointed from this movement, means from this demand, because it is the separation of lower caste with the means the lower caste with the upper caste. That's why Gandhiji disappointed with this demand. Next, leaders of the various community did not agree, and hence the conference fell, and other leaders were also not accepted this demand. That's why again the second round table conference was unsuccessful, means first round table and the second round table conference were both unsuccessful for the British government, because their demand were very disappointed to the Indian public, right? Chalo. Next we have, students, the Government of India Act 1935. Now what is the Government of India Act 1935? In this act, let's see, students, what happened. The Government of India Act was the second phase of in the constitutional change, means just before we discussed about the round table conference, and the conference were made for the constitutional change, right? So again the Government of India Act, it is for the constitutional change. So India, but it turned on to be the inadequate and the disappointing for the nationalists, but the change, it was disappointing and inadequate for the nationalist. According to the Rajendra Prasad, the degree of autonomy introduced to the provisional level was quite limited, means according to the Rajendra Prasad, what they think about that, the autonomy, means our Indian autonomy is at the provincial level was quite limited, means it is not so high, it is the limited level. The provisional governors retained the important reserve powers, and the British authorities also retained a right to suspend a responsible government. Means the British government had so many powers and so many provisional powers, but the Indian government did not have the actual power as compared to the British government. So the elected representative of India were given a very limited authority. Means as compared to the British government, British officers, the Indian were not have the actual power and and the provisional power as compared to the British government. This was against their expectation, and all those things were disappointing and inverse from their expectations. As per the act, elections were held. Means as per the act, what happened? Elections were held, and in that election what happened? Gandhiji suggested that the INC Congress would form the federal legislature, right? And Gandhiji demanded for the federal legislature. You all know, students, what is the federal legislature? Means all the community, all the caste are same, right? Means are to be same for the all publics and for the government. Next, if it is guaranteed that the governor will not exercise the exclusive power granted to them and act as per the advice of the elected provisional ministries. Means what happened? Gandhiji demanded for the federal legislature. In federal legislature, what they demanded, that one higher commissioner, one higher minister assign work to the lower level of the minister, right? And they all have to be work on depend of their assigned work. They don't have to exclusive power according to the federal legislation. Means they have to only work by the minister. Means the legislative minister. Means they assign only finance work, though they have to do only finance work, not do the other marketing work. Means assigned work they have to do. Next, Viceroy and the National Secretary agreed with the certain classification, and Congress and Muslim League formed the federal legislatures. And what happened? They all agreed with the demand of the Gandhiji and formed the legislature, means the federal legislature. The experiment of the provincial Swaraj continued for 2 years, and this provincial is continued for 2 years. But when the World War II broke out in the year 1939, what happened? When World War II broke out in 1939, that time the British government declared India as a part of without the constituting the federal legislature. That time British government announced that the Indian nation is without the federal legislature. So means the federal legislature is continuing for the 2 years, but after the World War II declared the India is without the federal legislature. So as a sign of the protest, the committee is resigned. So after the boycott of this federal legislature, the committee was resigned the all ministry, means all the work that were under in the British government. Okay, students, so I hope the Government of India Act you understand very well. Next we have the demand for Pakistan in 1940. So what we have in the demand for Pakistan, that Muhammad Iqbal and Chaudhry Rahmat Ali were the Muslim leaders who propagated that the Hindus and Muslims should form two separate nations as they represented two different cultures. Means here the two leaders who were that Muhammad Iqbal and Chaudhry Rahmat Ali. Muhammad Iqbal and Chaudhry Rahmat Ali. Students, you have to remember that both the name of the leaders that are in the demand for Pakistan, that is the Muhammad Iqbal and the Chaudhry Rahmat Ali, were the Muslim leaders who propagate that. They both propagate which thing they want to propagate to the Indians, that both Muslim and Hindus form two separate nations. They have the differentiation, means Hindu and Muslim both are having the different culture, having the different religions. So they both think that they have a different nation from each other. Means like today we have Hindustan and they have the Pakistan. As a Muslim and we have as a Hindu we have the Hindustan. So it is like they were demanded in the past years. So the resolution of the demand for Pakistan was passed in Muslim League. So the resolution passed in Muslim League but not in our Indian constitution. So Muslim League session held at Lahore and the March 1940. So they held one meeting in the Lahore 1940. It was suggested to form an independent nation having the majority of Muslim population, and they discussed about the major population community of the Muslim in a separate nation. Means they want only the Muslim community, Muslim population in that specific nation, right? Means in the separate nation they want only a Muslim community, not any Hindi community. After this, the creation of Pakistan became the main objective of the Muslim League, and after that the main means they left all other objective and coming to the only means a separate nation aim. Maulana Azad was born in the Mecca, right? Maulana Azad born in the Mecca, he knew many languages and was a scholar of Islam, right? And he was the scholar of the Islam religion. He advocated the unity of all religions, and he was not thinking about that the having only the Muslim community in the nation, but only Maulana Azad think that the unity of all religion is equally. He was always very active in the Gandhian movements, and as a Muslim also he was very actively worked in the Gandhian movements. Means as a Muslim he didn't think that as a Muslim we have to part only the Muslim community, but though also he was participate in the all Gandhian movements. So students, I hope you all also understand the demand for Pakistan, right? In the demand for Pakistan, we don't have seen that the demand means who the Pakistan means how the Pakistan formed. Here only the demand of the Pakistan, not the formation of Pakistan, right? In our next lecture, we have the formation of Pakistan. Here it is the only one demand means how they demand for the Pakistan, right? Sure. Next we have the individual satyagraha, right? So in individual satyagraha, what we have students in 1940, during the World War II, Gandhiji started the individual satyagraha instead of the mass satyagraha. Means Gandhiji started the individual in place of the mass satyagraha. Why Gandhiji did like this? Right? So there were the two reasons for doing this type of activity on behalf of the mass satyagraha. So one, there were the chances of turning into the violent movement. Gandhiji have feared like that if they started this movement with the mass of people, here are the chances of the violations, right? If Hindu and Muslim were put together for the movement, that time what happened? Violence can be pleased in this movement. So first reason is that, and the second reason is Gandhiji was not willing to put the British government into a very embarrassing situation, and Gandhiji didn't want to put the British government into the very embarrassing, means put to embarrassing feelings, it is good, but not the very high embarrassing feeling. So during the war, Gandhiji selected Vinoba Bhave as the first individual satyagrahi, and Vinoba Bhave was the first individual satyagrahi. Students, you have to remember that who was the first individual satyagraha, that is the Vinoba Bhave. Here we have the information about the Vinoba Bhave. Vinoba Bhave started his satyagraha by delivering the anti-war speeches. Means he was started his journey of individual satyagraha with his first speech according in the anti-war speeches. On the 5th day he was arrested by the government, and on his journey he after the 5 days completed he was arrested by the British government and was put into the prison for 3 months, and what was put into the prison for the 3 months. Vinoba Bhave's basic inclination was towards the constructive program, and means from starting of the journey of individual satyagraha, he was think about the constructive programs of the government, means for the Indians right from the beginning. Hence Gandhiji had a deep faith him as a satyagrahi with the high values, and Vinoba Bhave have the high values of thinking. That's why it is like that Gandhiji have so much faith on the Vinoba Bhave. So students, we revised again all those things whatever we have done in our previous lecture. So in our now we start the new later half portion of this chapter, that is the Quit India movement, right? So student, let's see what is in the Quit India movement 1942. Mahatma Gandhi started a new chapter of freedom movement after the World War II. What happened? Gandhiji started a new chapter after the freedom, means after the World War II. In that, he asked that the British to leave the immediately, and in that Gandhiji directly asked to the British to leave the India. Gandhiji asked the people of India to follow the principle of do or die, and that time Gandhiji asked to the people do or die, means do anything or die for anything, right? Next, and continue the struggle against the Britishers in non-violent manner. Not in the violent manner. Gandhiji started all the movement in the non-violent manner. So next, the historical resolution of Quit India was passed, and at that time what happened? Quit India movement started in the Mumbai session of the Indian National Congress on the 8th August, and from which date Quit India movement start on the 8th August 1942 from the Mumbai in the INC session. So Gandhiji and other leaders were arrested on 9th August, means started from 8th August, and after one day they all were arrested by the British government on 9th August. It gave a fresh impetus to the movement. The various public meetings, processions and the protests and the demonstration become order of the day across the nation, and only in a one day so many separations were gathered, means so many separations were happened in this movement. Though a large number of the farmers and the youth joined this movement, and that time what happened, a large number of women, farmers and the other tribal group also joined this movement. There were the incidents of attacks of government buildings and on communication facility like post and telegraph, and at that time what all the nationalists do, the nationalists did the attack on the government buildings, on the post services, on the telegraph services. But what is the reason behind it? The reason is that if the post and telegraph system continue, that time what happened, the British government convenes with the other Britishers officers and they stop the movement. So that's why all our nationalists did first the attack on the government building and on the telegraph system. The government adopted suppressive measures like the mass arrest, confiscations of the property and the imprisonment to curb the movement. More than 1 lakh were arrested and put into the jail. And in this movement, what happened? Again, it is given here, that is a curb the movement. Curb means to stop the movement, means for stopping this movement, British government try a lot to stop this movement, but at the end what happened, 1 lakh people were arrested by the British government and put into the jail. Thousands of people were shot, and thousands of people shot and the lakh people were in the jail, but the British realized that it was the end of their rule, and that time, and means in the Quit India movement, the Britishers finally realized that it is the end time of our ruling in India, and their hold over the people of India will not be for long, and they think and they realize that now it is time to end our rule in India, because they were not in our hands. So the next we have the cabinet mission 1946. So student, let's see what happened in the cabinet mission 1946. The British cabinet mission of India aimed to discuss and plan for the transfer of power from British government to Indian leadership. Means in cabinet mission, what they were discussed about? They discussed about the transfer the power from the British government to the Indian leadership. Means you all know students what happened in our past years. The British government organized all the Indian system, right? So in the cabinet mission, they were discussed about to transfer all the powers to the Indian community, Indian leadership, conferring India with its independence. Means in accordance with the independence formulated at the initiative of the Clement of the Atoll of the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, right? And it is in the under of the Prime Minister of UK. It was represented by 3 Britishers minister, and the proposal were, and in the cabinet mission already proposals were declared, which all proposals, the first, second and third and fourth, there were 4 proposals in the cabinet mission. So let's see students, to establish total self-rule in the country. Means first proposal is that to establish total self-rule in the country. Means totally in the India? Totally the self-rule, means today only we have the self-rule, right? So it is the one of the best proposal in the cabinet mission. Second, we have to divide the whole country into total 3 provinces, and next is they want to divide the whole India in 3 provinces. Allow Indian to decide its own constitution. India means they wanted to give the freedom to form the different constitution from other countries, means free to constitution, free to design all the constitution. Formation of and the interim of the provisional government till the constitution was framed, means formation of the interim or the provisional government, means till the constitution was not formed, we want a interim provisional government, means a temporary government we want till the constitution formed. Okay students, 1, 2, 3, 4, you have to remember all 4 provisional that were discussed in the cabinet mission. Next students, we have that the Congress secured majority in the following election and formed the interim government under the leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru. Means at that time what happened? Temporary, means a temporary election were held and formed the interim government under the leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru. So the poor response irritated the Muslim League and they declared 16th August 1946 as the direct action day. And what happened? As a prime minister, we accepted the Jawaharlal Nehru. That time the Muslim League unjust with our demand, means with our prime minister. That time they directly declared what? On 16th August, they declared the direct action day. As a result, communal tension prevailed in the country. And at that time, what happened? Communal tension, means communal prevailed at that time happened. And many parts witnesses communal riots too. However, the Muslim League maintained its position in government through the varied protests till the formation of Pakistan. Means at like that, what happened? Always Muslim League tried to form the Pakistan, means at the which level, means they always find out the reason for forming the Pakistan. So again in the cabinet mission, they find it that as a prime minister we didn't accept the Jawaharlal Nehru. We also want the one our Muslim representative. That time again they find the chance to form the Pakistan. So next we have the Attlee's announcement of the independence of India, February 1947. The communal integrity was jeopardized by the attitude of the Muslim League with the interim government. Means jeopardized means what? Means opposition created by the Muslim League, and the British Prime Minister on 20th February 1947 announced in the British Parliament that latest by June 1948 the power will be completely transferred to the Indians. Means on 20th February in the British Parliament the powers will be completely transferred to the Indians. Means the Prime Minister of the British will declare, means in the British Council they declare that by the June, means they declare hold the power in according to the Indians. Means what happened? Means powers would be completely under the Indians, transferred to the Indians from the Britishers' power. So enthusiasm and the happiness of Indian leaders and the common people knew no bounds. Gandhiji welcomed this decision of the Britishers by saying that it was their best decision. And at the end, what happened, students? Gandhiji said that yes, it is your best decision. Last, they accept the decision that now India is ours. Our India is with the freedom of our Indians people, right? So at the end, in the June, we were free from the British powers, and till now we are free from the British power, and we have the decentralized system, means the democracy we have today. Okay students, so I hope you all clear with that. Here the exercise part, we have the first question that why did Gandhiji launch the Dandi March? For breaking the salt law, students. Why did the second round table conference fail? Because of the disappointation of the demand. What were the proposal of the cabinet mission? So the 4 proposals were there. The first is the establishment of total self-rule. divide the whole country into the 3 provinces, allow India to design their own constitution, and 4th is the formation of the interim provisional government, right. So the 4 were the provisional cabinet missions. So next we have the Quit India movement and Dandi March. So students, you have to write the short note on the Quit India movement and the Dandi March, and then we have the MCQ. So students, in your fair book you have to write the self question answer from this chapter, and after the self question answer you have to write the whole exercise in your fair book. And students, please mark, you have to write demand for Pakistan and individual satyagrah extra in your short note content. Means here you have only 2 short note, that is the Quit India movement and second one is the Dandi March. But I assign you 2 more short note, that is first is the demand for Pakistan and the second is the individual satyagrah 1940. And students, you have to submit this homework on 5th February 2022 on your application. Till this students, bye bye all of you, take care of yourself, stay at home and take care of yourself and your family. And thank you students for your 100% support, and please students, it is humble request to watch whole the video and all the video in our application on your YouTube channel, and please subscribe our channel and give like to our channel. Thank you students, thank you for your support.